Your mind is like a factory and you're the foreman. The question is, are you letting anyone walk in and dump garbage on the floor? Most people don't realize this, but you're in charge of the most powerful tool on earth, your own mind. Not your boss, not your past, not your circumstances, you. Now I learned this from one of my mentors many years ago. He said, "Jim, stand guard at the door of your mind." And I thought, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means don't just let anything walk in. Don't let worry walk in uninvited. Don't let fear set up camp. Don't let small thinking rent a room for free. Because if you don't control your mind, someone else will. Your mind is the most valuable real estate you own, and you are the one in charge of what gets built there. Every day, thoughts come knocking, some empowering, others destructive. Most people leave the door wide open. They allow worry, fear, doubt, and negativity to walk right in without question. But the truth is, you are the gatekeeper. You decide what enters and what gets rejected. Just like a foreman decides what gets produced in a factory, you decide what kind of thinking gets to stay and what gets thrown out. Think about it. If someone came to your home carrying a sack of trash and asked to dump it in your living room, you'd say no, right? But many of us allow mental garbage into our minds without a second thought. A negative news story, a pessimistic friend, a toxic belief. We let them sit there and shape our mood, our mindset, and eventually our life. Controlling your mind starts with awareness. You have to notice when you're letting junk in. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. Catch yourself when you start thinking, "I can't," or "I'm not good enough," or "it's too hard." That's not truth. That's noise. That's the untrained mind talking. And your job, the real work, is to replace that noise with something better, something stronger, something that aligns with the person you're becoming. Because once you understand that you're the one with the keys to the gate, everything changes. You stop playing victim to circumstance and start leading your life with intention. You stop reacting and you start choosing. Control isn't about force. It's about responsibility. When you take charge of what enters your mind, you take charge of your future. One of the greatest lessons I ever learned was this: stand guard at the door of your mind. Most people don't. They go through life passively absorbing thoughts, emotions, and influences from the world around them. Whatever shows up, news, gossip, fear, anger, they accept it, entertain it, and even adopt it as truth. But the mind is like a room, and if you don't guard the door, anything can walk in and make itself at home. That's how negativity creeps in, not as a loud enemy, but as a quiet guest you didn't notice arriving. We have to become more aware of what we're allowing to enter. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it belongs to you. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opinion carries truth. You have to evaluate each thought. Is this helping me or hurting me? Is this pushing me forward or pulling me down? You don't leave your front door open to strangers, and you shouldn't do it with your mind either. Guarding your thoughts is a daily discipline. It means being mindful of who you're listening to, what you're reading, what you're watching, and who you're spending time with. Are these things feeding your spirit or draining it? The truth is, life already throws enough challenges at you. Don't let your mind become one of them. Be the one who chooses what gets space in your mental house. Let in ideas that build you up. Let in discipline, courage, peace, and possibility. Close the door to fear, criticism, and self-doubt, because once they get in, they can take over. The mind left unguarded becomes a battlefield, but the mind that's protected becomes a weapon, and you hold the power to choose which one yours becomes. Your mind works just like soil. It doesn't care what you plant. Whether you sow seeds of negativity or positivity, it will return whatever you give it, multiplied. That's the miracle and the danger. Most people plant thoughts unconsciously. They don't realize they're allowing seeds of doubt, fear, laziness, and limitation to take root. But over time, those small thoughts grow into attitudes, habits, and ultimately, a life they never intended to create. If you plant excuses, you harvest regret. If you plant discipline, you harvest progress. If you plant worry, you harvest stress. But if you plant faith, gratitude, and vision, you'll reap peace, clarity, and direction. That's how the mind works. What you give it is what it gives back to you. The trick is to become a conscious planter. That means waking up each day with the intention to feed your mind with thoughts that serve you. Don't wait for motivation to strike. Create it by planting it. Feed your mind ideas of growth. Read things that expand your thinking. Listen to voices that challenge you to be better. Speak words to yourself that align with the life you're building, not the one you're escaping. And just like in a real garden, you've got to pull out the weeds. Don't ignore the negative thoughts that creep in. Catch them early. Confront them. Replace them. Because if you don't, they'll spread, and they'll choke out everything good you've tried to grow. You don't get a beautiful garden by accident. It takes care, intention, and patience. Your mind is no different. When you realize this, you stop blaming the outside world and start tending to the soil inside. And that's when your life begins to change, from the inside out. What you feed your mind determines how it performs. Just like your body responds to the food you give it, your mind reacts to the information, energy, and environment it's exposed to. Most people underestimate the power of their daily input. They think a little negativity here, a little distraction there won't matter. But over time, these things compound. They become the framework of how you think, how you feel, and how you show up in the world. If you constantly feed your mind with junk, mindless scrolling, gossip, drama, fear, you begin to operate from a place of confusion, stress, and weakness. You can't expect to build a focused, powerful, and disciplined life on a mental diet of noise. What you take in becomes what you think about, and what you think about becomes who you are. That's why you have to become intentional about what goes in. Read books that stretch your vision. Listen to mentors who elevate your standards. Spend time with people who challenge your thinking in a good way. Fill your environment with voices, messages, and content that lift you, not drain you. Every single input is either making you sharper or duller, stronger or softer. You don't have to cut everything out overnight, but you do have to become aware. You have to start asking, is this helping me grow or keeping me stuck? That one question can change the course of your day and eventually your life. Because when your input changes, your mindset changes. And when your mindset changes, your decisions change. That's when your life starts to shift. Control your input, and you begin to control your thoughts. And once you control your thoughts, there's no limit to what you can create. You can't control everything that happens around you, but you can always control how you respond to it. That's where your true power lies, not in changing the world, but in managing your internal world. Most people spend their lives trying to fix everything outside, blaming others, complaining about circumstances, waiting for perfect conditions. But real strength comes from taking full ownership of your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions. When you accept responsibility for your mindset, you stop giving your power away. It's no longer, they made me feel this way, or the situation ruined my day. It becomes, I choose how I respond. That shift changes everything. It moves you from victim to creator. It's not about denying reality. It's about taking control of your role in it. Life is unpredictable. Challenges will come. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. That's not something you can always prevent. But what you can control is your attitude. You can choose patience over frustration, faith over fear, calm over chaos. And that choice isn't always easy, but it is always yours. Start with the small things, the traffic jam, the rude comment, the unexpected delay. Practice responding with clarity and purpose. Build your emotional muscle by training your focus. Ask yourself, what can I learn here? How do I grow from this? The stronger your mindset, the less the outside world can shake you. When you take responsibility for your inner state, you stop being a reactor and start becoming a leader, not just of others, but of yourself. And that's the kind of control that leads to confidence, resilience, and peace. Because the moment you realize your response is your responsibility, you begin to shape a life you're proud of, one decision at a time. What you think about most, you become. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever hear. Your dominant thoughts shape your beliefs, your emotions, your habits, and ultimately, your identity. If you constantly think in terms of limitation, lack, or fear, you start to live from that space. Your world becomes a reflection of your mindset. But if your mind is filled with possibility, purpose, and strength, your actions naturally begin to align with that vision. The challenge is that most people aren't thinking on purpose. They're thinking by default. They repeat the same mental patterns day after day, reacting to the world instead of creating their world. They focus on problems instead of solutions, on distractions instead of direction. And slowly, without realizing it, they become a product of scattered, reactive thinking. To break that pattern, you have to become intentional. Start choosing your thoughts the way you choose your clothes, deliberately. Feed your mind with ideas that reflect the life you want to live. Speak words to yourself that build you. Set aside time to think about what matters, your goals, your growth, your future. If you want to become confident, think confident thoughts. If you want to be disciplined, focus your mind on discipline. If you want peace, practice peaceful thinking. The mind doesn't resist, it follows. Every day, your dominant thoughts are shaping your decisions. They're determining what you believe is possible, what you attempt, what you avoid. So ask yourself, what am I thinking about most? Because that answer reveals your future. Think on purpose. Train your mind to dwell on what empowers you. Let your thoughts be the foundation of the person you are becoming, because in the end, your life will rise or fall with the level of your thinking.